Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Juggernaut, and this is going to be my Let's Play in Rome Remastered, using a few mods I'm going to talk about first, but primarily, the focus of the Let's Play is going to be building a relatively small, decent empire, not conquering the map or anything, especially not with this mod, given the size of the map, but the challenge is effectively establishing a relatively well-off Scipii empire by conquering Sicily and invading North Africa and maybe some of the islands over here and stuff like that, whilst being under particularly, dare I say, interesting and challenging circumstances. So, the idea of this challenge run is, like I said, to establish the Scipii empire in, let's say, about a dozen or 2 dozen or so episodes, depending on how things go, whilst leaving everything on auto-manage except recruitment. Now, here's the thing. The idea for the Let's Play is to really focus on the characters, the generals, the units, the army, etc., and making the best out of what the AI gives me. Initially, I was going to leave AI recruitment on as well, but at that point, it's way too much of a struggle, right? It's way too big of a struggle. You're actively fighting the AI to get the units you want, disband the ones you don't need, and it just doesn't make any sense, right? Instead, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to let the AI manage taxes, manage construction, manage everything, and whatever little money is left at the end of the day is going to go to the military budget. Effectively, I am playing as the Minister of Defense for the Scipii, or Minister of Attack, really, if you think about what we're going to be doing most of the time, but regardless of that, that is the gist of it, that is what we're trying to do. And hopefully, it's going to be really interesting because, well, half the advantage and half the really benefit of playing an empire and managing it yourself is that you manage taxes. You manage recruitment, you manage all of these things manually, and that's where you get your biggest sort of one-up over the AI, right? Well, instead, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to auto-manage everything, put it on dynamic policy, and I'm going to try and give the AI as much money as I can in terms of military units and such. But I'm going to let them basically decide what needs to happen with our finances, and we're going to take things from there. So, the first objective we've been given is to, I believe, take the settlement of Lipara, which we are going to do. However, first of all, let's talk a little bit about the mods, because this is not the conventional Rome Total War map, is it, Juggernaut? No, this is a, well, the map itself doesn't come from the mod author, but the mod pack I'm using, or the overhaul for Rome I'm using, is Mundum Vincere, or Mundum Vincere, if you whichever pronunciation you prefer, but I believe the most period-accurate one would be Mundum Vincere, with that sort of accent, I think. At least I hope I'm not butchering it. It's been a while since I've had Latin and interacted with it, but anywho, the gist of the mod is that it adds hundreds, possibly literally hundreds of different factions, and there are very few rebels on the map, so adds tons and tons of minor factions which work relatively well. They are fairly generic, but they work relatively well. They have their own diplomacy and everything. Obviously, the map itself is massive. I mean, you can tell just by looking at Italy and Roman provinces and territories we hold right now. The number of towns is absolutely ridiculous. It also changes a few things on the map. For example, it adds the Mamertines, adds new settlements, obviously, etc., adds things like that. Also, adds, if I can show over here, some changes to the economy. So if you take a look, for example, the road here. Where can I build the road? I'll build a road in Capua. Okay, roads are very expensive for some reason. That's how the mod author decided to manage these things and balance them. Roads are ridiculously expensive and take a long time to build. The rest of the construction stuff is more or less the same. It does have some new units, which I think we can recruit in Capua right now. We have Italian Spearmen, for example, which is a new unit. Also, I believe if I go down this line, I can show you something else. Yeah, here we go. We have Equites Extraordinari, which I'm pretty sure is a new unit as well, and so on and so forth. We also have the reforms, which will happen eventually when we get to an Imperial Palace, but that's for later. Anywho, it's a pretty big mod, adds all sorts of stuff. I think it also improves some of the campaign AI, battle AI, etc., etc. But the most important and the biggest thing it does is, well, right here, I suppose. So, anyways, I think what we're going to do is we're going to start by looking at our objective, and we need to take this settlement, which will be fairly easy. So we're going to go over here with you, and I have Gaius Scipio over here, Juliana Scipio over here, and my faction leader is in Rhegium, which is a long way away from Capua. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to recruit one unit of Town Watch here. And I'm going to take the faction leader out of Rhegium, and we're going to bring him down here. The faction heir is also going to leave Capua. I'm going to recruit one unit of Town Watch. All of this, or rather put the entire army on a boat, and off we go, basically. I'm going to bring all of them together. Quintus Scipio, you can actually leave the army, I think. Yeah. I'm gonna need you to leave the army. You're gonna be the Town Watch, or the Watchtower, sorry, guy. I'll explain what that is in a second. And obviously this army will merge up to bring Cornelius Scipio to the capital of Capua. He's going to manage it. And the faction heir, which I'm assuming is his son or his brother or something along those lines, but judging by the age, probably his son, is going to be in charge of the military campaigns in Sicily against the Carthaginians. Right, leaving the AI to do everything else, just make sure that everything is on auto-manage, and I think we can automate the auto-managing. I know, but click here. Auto-manage, taxation, construction, and recruitment. No, just taxation. I want you to auto-manage construction as well, if that makes any sense. No, I have to do it manually, don't I? Yeah. Okay, so auto-manage construction and taxation. Unfortunately, I have to do it manually. I tried doing recruitment, like I already said, but the AI makes some very, very strange decisions when it comes to recruiting units, and it isn't really capable of looking 2 steps in advance, right? It'll recruit the best unit it can here, and usually it takes a look at the 2 of these, and it prefers, for some reason, the Italian Spearmen. I guess it's the cost associated with them, because it doesn't see this as much of an advantage. So it'll recruit a whole heap of Italian Spearmen. It won't conserve population. It won't think about what type of unit is appropriate for which type of battlefield, which is all fun and games. It's nice challenges, but after the first few turns, it's just frustrating to keep disbanding units you don't need, and it's shooting itself in the foot. I think I'm shooting myself in the foot enough with just auto-managing everything else. So I'm going to be the Minister of Defense of the Scipii, and that's how it's going to be. So let's do our first turn over here. I don't think I moved my Diplomat, which is a mistake, but never mind. Speaking of the mods, I'm also using... I failed to mention this at the very beginning of the episode, but you know, better late than never. I am also using the Recruitable Generals mod. Essentially, I want to have as few adopted characters as possible. And in order to sort of facilitate that, I need generals that I can recruit and send them off to do whatever. I think that makes a lot more sense than having to just adopt people all the time. On top of that, I'm using the 12 turns per year mod, which makes it... Well, actually, it's not really a mod. It's a modification to Mundum Vincere that I've made. The original 12 turns per year mod from the Steam Workshop doesn't work with MV, which is what I'm going to call it from now on, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to annoy a lot of people with my pronunciation, which, again, I'm pretty sure is technically the correct one, or at least the period appropriate one. But regardless of the fact, that's what I'm going to be doing. Okay, did you not build anything? Well, you built those two things, I suppose. Oh, you didn't have money. Right, never mind. You build stuff at the end of the turn. I recruit stuff at the beginning of the turn. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, so the 3 generals over here, along with the faction leader, disembark at Lipara, and I'm going to start sieging the place. I'm gonna need a new ship over here, because I'm afraid of the Carthaginians sending a navy to fight me, and that'll leave my army stranded over there. So I'm gonna recruit 1 more ship, and I'm gonna leave the AI the rest of the money. Lovely thing is, they also built a shrine to Vulcan in Regium. That's good. If I could somehow let the AI just build shrines to Vulcan, I would love that. I would take that as that trade, I guess. Pretty much always and forever. Unfortunately, I don't think that's an option, but hey. Okay, I did send my diplomat this way. And speaking of recruitable generals, let me just make sure. Yep, there it is. So, Rome General, you can recruit them like so. And another great thing is they don't log up the family tree. Once you recruit them, they don't actually show up on the family tree. They show up just as generals on the campaign map, but not over here. They work just like family members. They can get traits. They can get, points for management, they can get points for command, all of those things. You can't designate them as faction heirs, that's the one thing, and the other thing is, obviously, if you run out of family members, the game's over, they don't count as family members, but they do count as governors, as military generals, all of that good stuff, so yeah. Lovely. Especially with the 12 turns per year mod, it's really necessary to have that. And other than that, I'm playing on medium battle difficulty because that's what MV is balanced around. And can I really not go through here with the Navy?
Yes, Captain.
Okay, that's a bit of a problem. I'm gonna have to eventually betray the Mamertines, I feel like. Or they will betray me, more likely. I'm playing on medium battle difficulty, but hard campaign difficulty. I think it's the perfect balance between something sensible and something challenging. On very hard campaign difficulty, the economic bonus that the AI gets in MV, in vanilla it's not that bad, but in MV, with the number of settlements being so large, is insane. For every 1 army you make, they can make like probably 10 or 15 on very hard. With hard, it's a little bit dialed down. You're still going to be outnumbered. The enemy's economy is still going to be a lot more challenging to deal with, let's say, especially when you're fighting bigger empires and stuff. But I think the perfect example for testing things out is the Island of Rhodes. Well, there's a few other islands, but Island of Rhodes specifically. It starts off with the Colossus of Rhodes, which is 40% naval trade, alright? Good thing, not bad, I like it. One of the better wonders of the world. So it gives them a bit of an economic bonus. With hard campaign difficulty, the Island of Rhodes can make around 1.5 stacks to 2 stacks of units to defend the island. If they expand and take something over, the experiment fails, right? But as long as they have just the one settlement and the one world wonder, they can make around 2 stacks. Slightly under. I think that's perfectly acceptable. On very hard, they make around 6, 5. It really depends. Plus a massive navy. It's way too much. Like a single island producing 6 stacks of army is just way too much in my modest opinion. So instead of dealing with that, I chose to put it on hard. Medium battle difficulty, on the other hand, is just... oh, how do I put this? It's just a little bit more sensible, I think. On hard, the AI gets way too big an advantage, and you're sort of forced into trying to tease the AI and break their pathfinding and decision-making and stuff like that. You're playing against the game. It really doesn't lend itself well to a more roleplay intensive, I guess. Maybe not necessarily intensive, but a more roleplay oriented run, let's say. It lends itself more towards breaking the game and gaming it, which I'm not the greatest fan of. So, yeah, because of that, I'm just going with those difficulty settings. Alright, so we should have the first battle of the campaign right here, and let's go. So, the Siege of Lipara, small island in the middle of... well, it's not really in the middle of nowhere. I was going to say in the middle of nowhere. I'm going to read the quote here. The generals. They are numerous, but not good for much. I think given the recruitable generals thing, that holds extra true, but yeah.
The omens are so numerous and so in our favor that I cannot describe them all and still have time for a battle today.
True.
The Parthians who face us today are terrible in war and in victory. When they win, they are cruel beyond measure.
It's not the Parthians, it's the Carthaginians.
They have been lulled into a false sense of security by a few feet of defensive wall, as if that will protect them. Those fools have never fought against me before. I hope to give them a nasty surprise. And before we start, just remember, they are more scared of us, true Romans to a man, than we are of them.
Alright, other than the fact that they're not Parthians, excellent speech. So I was thinking about doing a different kind of challenge run with a really small nation, and I even thought about, or even actually recorded 1 or 2 episodes of Massalia, which is the small colony at the very south of Gaul. And it's challenging. It's a very, very challenging start because you get attacked from all sorts of sides and you need to defend 2 settlements. And the attacks sort of rotate, if that makes any sense. You get attacked by one barbarian tribe and then the other, and then the first one and then the second one, so you're constantly jumping in between 2 settlements, defending yourself. You don't really have the opportunity to move out and attack. However, it's... The reason I chose to not play as Massalia or as a Greek faction is the hoplite pathfinding, or the phalanx pathfinding. It's abysmal. Matter of fact, I put it to you, it is beyond abysmal. The pathfinding for phalanx units in general is something to behold. Really, it's not just the fact that you have to micromanage them every step of the way. I could do that. I have done that. In fact, I have in my spare time for the past month or 2, I've been playing as the Ptolemid Empire, which is this mod's version of Egypt, i.e. a more historically accurate Egypt, where, they're not mummies, they're actually Greek. I swear to you, half the units in the Egyptian roster are slightly more human variants of mummies in the vanilla game. It's comical. But yeah, so anyways, the Egyptians have a host of phalanx units, the Ptolemid dynasty, I guess, has a host of Greek phalanx units, and just first of all, the phalanx on phalanx fighting is a nightmare because it doesn't make any sense. The winner is the one who gets the first stab in, if that makes sense. And I don't mean on an individual soldier-to-soldier level, I mean on a block-to-block level. As in, if a enemy phalanx soldier stabs your phalanx line first, your entire block of infantry will crumble, and vice versa. Which means you need to really carefully maneuver like this to get the first stab in, and then you win the battle, which is no fun at all. There's no real kind of combat between two phalanx units, it's just mostly them just sitting there. It's really no fun at all. And then when it comes to city defense and attack, defense can be somewhat fun because you can take two phalanx units, put them like this, and then the AI, the enemy, or whoever the enemy is, will charge relentlessly at the spikes and lose waves upon waves of troops. And I've had battles where two or three phalanx units defended a city against a full stack of enemies. Yeah. It can happen. You can just like basically block off the entrances towards the plaza and win. It's just period. Win, right? Unfortunately, though, that's only the beginning of the AI problems. In fact, let's not run while we're doing this. I don't really think there's a need to.
Our soldiers have done well this day. The walls are taken.
Put the archers here because I want to use them to fire off a few shots at the town militia. No reason to lose men doing this, right? So we can just be a little bit more careful and wait for these guys to come and surround them instead of, yeah, pathfinding again. Instead of just, rushing towards the enemy, better to attack them from multiple sides. And it'll give me time to finish my sentence. So, or my train of thought, really. So, on top of all of that, you then get some really silly and broken situations where, after a fight, the phalanx will just turn around or walk towards the enemy, even if they're on guard mode, which, speaking of, everyone on guard mode and fire at will, they'll win the fight and then they'll continue walking, or if you click attack, what they're going to do is they're going to put their pikes away and get their knives out and run towards the enemy. And then you have to tell them stop, and then they get their pikes out, but the problem is they're now facing the other way with their backs towards the enemy. And you do this every single time, and with each and every order, and on an army that has like 10 phalanx units, it gets incredibly annoying. And I really don't want to deal with that, basically. So, I guess as a result, I decided against playing as any Greek faction. The Bosphorian Kingdom is also incredibly fun, because they start off so far away from the actual Greek civilization, you're not going to fight any hostile phalanx units, but it is just incredibly fun to play as, because you're like this isolated Greek colony, everything around you is hostile, and yet you have a lot of room for expansion if you can set up properly in the early game. And you're going to be fighting mostly just barbarians, which is very fun in and of its own right, especially when you're using numerically inferior units like phalanx and hoplites and stuff like that. It can be very, very fun, but it's just the phalanx AI has... I'm too sick and tired of it, essentially, if that makes any sense. This, on the other hand, I'm a huge fan of. The fact that they can do this. They can turn their shields in multiple directions. Unfortunately, only the first rank does it. I love that. Okay, Let's just make sure that you are no longer shooting, and let's charge at the militia. Please stop shooting, thank you. You're going to start hitting our own men is the problem. And there you go. The beauty of this is you have multiple units fighting the militia. Okay, sorry about that. I just had a soft lock at the end of the battle. You know, when you get the camera that you've killed the enemy general? Yeah, the game just froze there for some reason. Or it didn't freeze, it's soft lock, because I could hear the audio going, like we've won the battle and everything, but the camera just froze. I'm wondering if it's due to my encoding software now, or if it's something else. I've genuinely never had that in like the last 100 hours or so, I guess. I had different bugs and crashes, but not that. Anyways, whatever the case may be, it was at the very end of the battle, so we've captured Lipara. That's like I said, a small village, basically, of 600 people. It took a ginormous force like that to occupy it. What can I say? Not exactly ideal, but it is what it is. So I will leave this to be repaired, because obviously, right? It's not that I don't trust the AI to do that, but I don't really trust the AI to do that. Anywho, the problem now is I'm going to have to face the Carthaginians in Sicily. And I don't really want to do that just yet. Instead, what I want to do is... oh, I haven't explained the Watchtower guy, have I? Okay, so in Rome Remastered, I'm not sure if this was the case with the original Rome. Maybe. I always had a sort of conspiracy theory that it is, but I'm not 100% sure. You need to place watchtowers in your lands. One, it gives you the obvious advantage of seeing an enemy army coming before they actually besiege one of your cities. It gives you the advantage of seeing when an ally is about to betray you. They'll usually gather a large army next to one of your settlements, and you can always go, oof, right, they might be they're probably going to betray me, right? Usually speaking, they don't just bring a massive army next to one of your settlements just to say hi. Usually they have their own problems to worry about. They only do it if they're about to betray you. That's two. Third, equally important, I would say, is it gives you security in the region. And I don't mean like this from some sort of roleplay stance of, oh, security and keeping away the bandits and brigands and stuff. No, I literally mean it gives you the security stat, which I shall show you here. This is security. And as you can see, security in Italy currently is high. What is it? What are the factors when it comes to security? Visibility, location, military presence, and neighboring regions. Visibility is just as important as military presence when it comes to the security of a region. The higher the security of a region, obviously I think that taxation might be a little bit affected, and I'm not sure if growth is. I don't think growth is, but taxation might be affected a little bit. Above everything else, though, the highest, or the I guess, biggest and most important effect on... there you go. The highest and most important effect when it comes to security is the spawning of rebel armies. A region with high security, or very high security, will practically never spawn a rebel army. Now, some regions will naturally have lower security once, well, for one, if neighboring regions are piss poor, like, for example, Lipara. As soon as we move out the military presence from there and move it back to Capua or somewhere down in the south, military presence is going to go down, security is going to go down. But after a time, right, you're going to be able to reliably stop enemy armies or rebel armies from spawning on your territory if if you get rid of all the existing rebel armies, the neighboring regions are of relatively okay security, and you have visibility. That's all you need. You don't need a strong military presence inside the town to actually keep rebels from spawning. So 1 to 2 units of Town Watch is going to be perfect. Ideal is going to be peasants, because as you can see, they cost less to recruit, the same amount to maintain, and there's 300 of them instead of, what, 200 of these. But I have a big problem with recruiting peasants as a Roman republic to keep public order. It's efficient, but this is literally a unit made to keep public order. And Rome is the only faction that gets these. Technically, you can argue the Greeks with the militia phalanx, militia hoplites, has the same thing. But not really. This is a unit made for public order. Why not recruit it? Like, it's there, why not? Come on. Even if it's not technically the most efficient one at keeping public order. So, anywho, you do those things and rebel armies will no longer spawn. Now, is it a big deal? Not really. Who cares if you get a few rebel units here and there? It's not the end of the world. But I like to keep my borders clean and secure, and I like to build a strong empire that does not have brigands along the roads, so building watchtowers helps with that a lot. And it also gives me an excuse to sort of, I guess, enforce my obsession with keeping my borders secure and visible, if nothing else. So, anywho, with all of that said, let's go into Lipara, auto-managed construction, dynamic policy, auto-managed taxation and construction, rather, and I don't think... Yeah, in fact, I definitely don't. I don't think, period. No, I definitely do not have... that's going to be a shame. I definitely do not have a way to recruit Town Watch unit for this place. I could recruit one in Rhegium. And then I guess move this one out and try and bring it here. Or actually, isn't it easier to do it like this? Oh, I messed up, didn't I? Isn't it easier to do it like this, and then from there? Yeah, it is. Okay. Never mind, we're going to do that with the next unit for now. Or actually, no. Why do that with the next unit? Let's do it right away. Grab Town Watch from here. Bring it into Lipara. Grab all of you. Take you out of Lipara. There you go, that's all this settlement is going to need. And now, I have to make the decision of where I need to bring this army. It's not much of a legion, right? I'm going to need some more velites, I'm going to need some more stuff for it to become a proper legion. But the big question is, what do I do with them now? I think what I should do with them is... nothing for one more turn. I need to see where this guy's going to go. The main problem is he has elephants. I'm not going to have I'm not going to really do great against elephants. I have archers, I can use fire arrows. They're semi-effective. But the elephants are going to be a horrible thing to deal with. So, if he moves on the Mamertines or something and they lose, and he takes over Messana, I can land, take it back from them. If he just stays there, I might just have to go and take the fight. I don't know, we'll decide next time. Senate mission successful though, we've been awarded a gift of 1,000 denarii. Alright, let's also wait for the next Senate mission. I might want to go over here at the heel of Italy and fight these guys, because I know for a fact they don't have elephants. And the Brutii, well, they're a rival family, as much as I hate to admit it. Especially in that region, so if I can get those settlements before they do, be pretty happy. Of course, the traditional sort of divide of who goes where still stands. The Julii fight the barbarians in the north, the Brutii conquer Greece, and the Scipii go after Sicily and Carthage, and generally North Africa. And there's kind of a scramble for Egypt, but never mind that. Yeah. It's kind of one of the things I really love about Rome. The original and remastered. Rome 2 not so much, because well, it literally doesn't have this, but one of the things I really like about the original Rome, I guess, is the Roman factions obtain surrender from Taurus. Weaken enough, forcing surrender a realistic option, and demand they become a protectorate under Roman control. Okay. I can do that. I can definitely do that. I think for that I'm going to need to recruit a diplomat, though. Just as I was speaking about rebel armies, right? One pops up right there. I'm going to fight this manually. I'm going to fight it off camera, though, because it's kind of boring, but yeah. This is what I want to prevent from happening, essentially. Alright, that'll be it for this episode, though. Thank you very much for watching. Next time, I'm going to try and accept the surrender from those guys over there and see what we're going to do about Sicily. Hope you enjoy the series, and, well, this is sort of the setup episode. Not much has happened yet, and not much will happen for a little bit, but as we go on, you're going to see we're going to have some pretty interesting stuff with both the general and characters and the whole narrative and storyline of what's going to happen, but for now, we're just sort of setting things up. With that said, and with a promise that future episodes will be a lot more dynamic and a lot more interesting than this one, I bid you all farewell. Until next time, have fun, take care, and bye-bye.